This is a special report from About Space Today.
It has become increasingly apparent over the past decade that the Russians and the PRC are coupling space-based ISR with sat-nav-aided precision-guided munitions that can receive SATCOM-updated targeting.
The U.S. Space Force chief says China is sending military gear into orbit at a mind-boggling pace. Welcome to Special Report. I'm David Denault. China is developing military space gear at a mind-boggling pace, according to the U.S. Space Force chief, General Chance Saltzman. Weapons that they've created and at the speed which they're doing it is very threatening, says the general. Special Report on About Space Today will continue next. Ever dream of an island getaway at an all-inclusive resort? Or going on an island-hopping cruise to multiple island destinations? See sun-bleached beaches and swim in the azure waters of the Caribbean Sea. Call today for your special discount prices to your island getaway. This is a special offer for About Space by calling 877-747-8631. And let's go and explore the islands of the Caribbean. Welcome back. Saltzman said he is also worried that China has developed a network of hundreds of military satellites that could be used as a targeting system for military missions on Earth. It is one of a series of warnings from top U.S. military officials in recent months about the growing threat in space posed by China. Space warfare is a growing risk.
And we see an incredibly sophisticated array of threats, from the traditional SATCOM and GPS jammers to more destabilizing direct-to-send anti-satellite weapons across almost every orbital regime, to on-orbit grapplers, optical dazzlers, directed energy weapons, and increasingly cyber attacks, both to our ground stations and the satellites themselves. It has become increasingly apparent over the past decade that the Russians and the PRC are coupling space-based ISR with sat-nav-aided precision-guided munitions that can receive SATCOM-updated targeting. Specifically, the PRC has more than 470 ISR satellites that are feeding a robust sensor, shooter, kill web, part of the fabled A2AD problem that most of us are familiar with. This new sensor-to-shooter kill web creates an unacceptable risk to our forward-deployed forces. This is something most of us are just not used to thinking about. Our lived experience in the Middle East was one of indirect mortars, rockets, IEDs, not 2,000-kilogram warheads delivered at Mach 5 by more ballistic missiles. We've gotten a taste of what it looks like from the 2020 Iranian attack on U.S. forces at Al-Assad airfield in Iraq, and more recently with the ongoing conflicts in both Gaza and Ukraine. So collectively, this rise in congestion and competition within the domain has led to a growing risk to our continued access to and operations within space. In the face of this unacceptable risk, the Space Force was established, a military service focused on addressing the challenges and opportunities we face in the space domain. In the military sense, our task of securing the space domain is a reflection of the Space Force's charge to prepare ourselves to control the space domain with force if necessary as part of the joint force, while also protecting the security and prosperity our nation derives from space.
And General Saltzman says Space Force will be a deterrence.
The Space Force must make a first strike in space impractical and self-defeating, thus discouraging potential adversaries from taking such actions. The Space Force's resiliency efforts are to make preemptive attacks against space capabilities impractical, self-defeating. This means our forces must be able to defeat, absorb, and recover from attacks. We will continue to field defensive capabilities that protect space missions from attack and resilient capabilities that degrade gracefully if attacked. And finally, we must be prepared to undertake responsible counter-space campaigning. We must preserve our advantages without incentivizing rivals to escalate to destructive military activities in space. And should deterrence fail, Space Forces must be prepared to protect the nation and the joint force from space-enabled attack without generating hazardous debris. Striking this balance will require a wide range of measures to interrupt adversary targeting when necessary. Our adversaries must never be desperate enough or emboldened enough to pursue destructive combat operations in space.
Space dominance has been an important issue for the Chinese premier, who has frequently expressed his desire for China to be a, quote, space power in all respects, end quote. In April, NASA Chief Bill Nelson warned that China was passing off military endeavors in space as civilian projects. However, it is believed that China is developing hypersonic guided vehicles and other weapons capable of evading air defense systems and satellite warnings. It has also developed technology capable of targeting U.S. satellites. About Space Today News will continue to follow the growing risk of space warfare. I'm David Denault.
This has been a special report from About Space Today.